Oh, I don't know why we're on that. I have no idea why that was the case. Um, okay, let's see here. We're totally tinkering, and this is a super last minute idea to do this to go live. So if people end up joining, great. If not, that's fine too. Um, Definitely have a different setup. I need to. No, we're okay. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm doing. Basically, I am upstairs in my main office, which is also like a den, whatever. But anyway, this is where I work, like when I do work. What's up, Tish? I was hoping you'd join. Can you hear me? Dear God. Um, so I also have been, I like my basement. I love the studio down there. I've had so many weird issues lately, like so many tech issues. It's actually ridiculous. It makes me feel like there's been some moments where I'm literally like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why is everything breaking? And so I I think that it boils down to a couple things. I do think that simplicity is very has gone underappreciated and is becoming reappreciated. If reappreciated is a word, I like to make up words. But anyway, I am trying to simplify things while also maintaining a particular level of, I don't want to say quality. Style is probably a better word because even the word quality anymore is subjective. So I've always felt like quality is truly in the content, right? However, I also like to, help people raise the bar when it comes to the technical quality, the output, the look, the view, the production value. You don't have to have a lot of expensive things, but we all know that. We've heard that 1,000 times. Unless you are brand new to this space, then you maybe haven't heard that 1,000 times. However, what's interesting is um, I don't know. Okay, so I guess I've been all over the place, but I have had, I think, some port issues on my old computer. When I say old computer, it's maybe 5 years old. Gosh, I'm honestly not even sure. I should probably look this up. But it's a nice computer. I spent a lot of it's a tower, it's a PC, it's great. It does not have enough USB-C imports. It has plenty of the USB 3.0s, the blue ones, whatever. But that doesn't mean that those ports are still good. It doesn't mean that they're still valid, right? Um, yes. So Tish says we have our own home lab if that lets you know what kind of geek Michael is. Yeah. Honestly, that's kind of me. I like to play around with stuff. I like to tinker. I like to explore new things to a point where, unfortunately, I think what's possibly happened is I have over tinkered and I have mixed wires. And what I mean by that is there are it's not simple. All cables are not created equal. So some cables have, different frequencies. They carry a signal at different speeds, even though they look the same. Uh, Preach and cheers to any of the manufacturers that label the wire now and actually have on the, whether it be a sticker or whether it be actually in plastic, that actually says what kind of cable it is. So anyway, long story short, I was having some issues with the Streamer X. I was having some issues where I would plug in the OSB bot cam and it would zap the Streamer X camera feed, and then all of a sudden a few days later that would work again, but no explanation why. Just a lot of really funky gremlins going on. And so anyway, it set me back. It did. It really did. It's annoying. And I have been talking to myself and I'm like, you cannot continue to let the studio, the look of your background, or things like, having multiple cameras and multiple angles and, whatever hold you back. And it's interesting because if you've been around for a while, you might remember the days when I used to stream and I'd have like 3 different freaking camera angles and I had the background cam. That was like the crappy Logitech 920 camera. It was nothing fancy, but it just was enough, right? So I have been also telling myself it doesn't have to be everything crazy. I don't know. I also am the kind of person that gets inspired, gets energy from my space. So it is what it is. I absolutely have to like the space I'm in. I have to like the look. I have to like the sound. And there are things that will create energy for me. So something that created energy for me today is this microphone. This microphone, I used to use this microphone all the time, and then I've got to a point where s I didn't really love the mic. It's always been a really quiet microphone, especially when you are plugged in USB. It is also, it does have the XLR capability. It definitely required an amplifier like a cloud lifter or the Streamer X has an amplifier in it. I believe the Elgato Wave XLR does as well. But anyway, the XLR would only sound good if you amplified it, unless you were right up in it and the plosives were bad and it was annoying. So now I plugged it in today because I was just like, I want to start getting back to podcasting and whatever. And so I plugged this in and I've got this other laptop that is fairly new that I'm trying to kind of get, set up but not overcomplicate. I want it to stay clean and simple with not too many files and things like that on it. So it can be a good work computer to take for client visits, consulting, but also just nice. And I want to keep it light. I don't want to, it's a great computer and it has, a lot of power. I just don't want to overload it with files and software and blah, all the stuff. So anyway, my point is that I've kept it simple. And so today I was like, okay, I'll download the Shure app, get this firmware updated because I've not plugged this mic in years. And I mean years. Like it's probably been 3 years since I've plugged this thing in, maybe 2. And so plugged it in, got it going. The app is different. Shure has, it used to just be this little tiny app. Now it's like, actually, I can show you the app because I'm using OBS Virtual Camera. There you go. So you should see that. Um, so let me take these comments off. So basically, the app used to be this skinny little thing. Well, now it's the Motive Mix, and it's like their response to everybody coming up with virtual software to create virtual audio mixers. And because Elgato started the trend with the Wavelink software. Rode very quickly responded with their, was it Unify? I don't remember. They all have these companion applications now where you can basically do a virtual mixer. So obviously Shure has responded as well and they've come up with their own. So when I start to download it, I'm like, well, I don't want all that noise because again, I'm trying to keep it simple and I don't want to use another mixing application when I am familiar with Elgato's Wavelink software, which now, by the way, you don't have to have an Elgato product to use it. It's free for anyone. So you don't even have to be an Elgato user to use it. But one of the things, again, that I have kind of been coming up with and coming through with is I don't want to have all these families of products. Again, back to this Rode Streamer X. I'll get to that in a minute. And now I have the Shure, and I'm like, oh, I've had the Shure, but I'm like, okay, I don't want to have all this stuff. So I said no. But turns out you can actually download the simplified version of the software. So Tish says, I have the same mic. She said, I think you should know, sister. You should know. And I see that David's All Natural Gym, also known as Deng, is here as well. Good to see you. I'm glad you caught me live. So she says, I have the Shure Move Mic Pro. Oh, she won it on Vid Summit. I have a love-hate relationship with the app. It doesn't work with Blackmagic. Okay. So anyway, the app that you download now, and I'm using one monitor, so please bear with me. If I open it, is that it? Yeah. Okay. So if I unlock it, so you guys will hear that, you should hear the difference. So the mic used to sound pretty good. But again, it was quiet. I felt like even especially the USB was like practically unusable that it was so quiet. Um, but they've definitely made some updates. So I was able to update the firmware. So by the way, sorry, what I was getting at is you can go toggle back and forth between this version, which is the simplified mic setup versus the mixer version. I actually dabbled with the mixer for a minute. It is so far inferior, like so far inferior to the Elgato one. However, it is simpler. And again, sometimes simple is nice and best. I have not tested it. I've not worked with it yet. So I didn't really want to do that tonight. I didn't think that was a very good idea. So anyway, but you guys can see here that now we've got auto level, which is where I am because here's why. This right here, if I go to manual and I increase the gain all the way, it's still not as loud. So let's do it so you guys can hear the difference. Also, this dark tone I really like. It creates that bassy kind of thing that I'm going for that I want. And so that's where I'm at with that. Let me can I move? Actually, let's do this. I'm going to put comments back on screen and then I'm going to move this over to here. The beauty of the beauty of OBS virtual camera, right? Um Tish says I've gone almost all lav mics now. I can attach them to the brim of my hat while I'm making candy. That's actually great. Yes, I love that. And I actually one of the things I am going to be playing around with is lav mics because I still have the Rode wireless Go Pro, whatever. I don't know. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. So basically, inside this app, I am clicking on all the wrong things. It doesn't show in my tray. It's actually annoying. It goes into the other tray, and it's kind of a pain. Okay, so basically, I can change this dark to natural. That changes the tone, and then I can go to bright, and that changes it even further. So I've been using dark. I think I like it. And then the LEDs is really just controlling if the LEDs show up on your microphone and whatnot. But anyway, the manual. So now we're in manual. It should have changed the sound. By the way, this is actually something that drives me absolutely bonkers. If I don't lock it, it will default. So we need to go back to far and then dark because I want to do a comparison. So here's the way I've had it and the way I think I like it. Bassy, yes. Is it too bassy though, do you think? Maybe natural, Tish? Because this is why I like this. Now everybody has a different preference, of course, but all right. So let's do natural for a minute. We'll do natural for a minute. Yes, bassy is a word, by the way. Bassy, it's funny, it kind of comes across that type that way, but okay. So we're in far and we're in natural. Now, if I go to manual, you're going to hear it should get quieter. At least when I was playing around earlier with some just recordings and not live, it was significantly quieter, and I can't go up any higher on the gain. So that's as high as the gain will go. That's it. That's all we get. Now there's a compressor, of course, that does some stuff as well. I really haven't played around with that. And then there's a limiter, and then we also have these filters, the EQ. You only have 4 options. You've got flat, which I remember this. I don't think there's a huge difference between all these, by the way. But high pass, presence boost, that's where it's at for now. The compressor. Um, let's just go all the way. Let's go to light. And I'm probably going to go back and listen to this, by the way, but I'm doing this so that you guys can understand these automated, EQ, these features inside the software is, yeah, Tish says you are much quieter in the manual, right? Now, the difference is in manual, I have all these extra options of adjustments, but I still think the auto sounds significantly better in a number of ways. So this is medium compressor and this is heavy compressor. And for those compressor is it's basically like changing the way the sounds are filtered, background noise and things like that, I believe. Yeah, it's changing the dynamic range. I'm not an audio engineer, never was. That stuff, honestly, I find it all still very confusing. I'm actually shocked that more of these applications have not simplified the naming conventions of these settings because they mean nothing to the us normal people who are not audio engineers or didn't study audio or didn't go to school for film or any of that stuff. We don't know these terms, and they're not they're not obvious, right? They're not intuitive. So anyway, all right, let's go back to auto. So this is manual with the gain all the way up. And honestly, guys, I am like super close to the mic. I don't consider this far at all. The mic is in the shot. It is 4 inches from my mouth. So that's pretty close in my opinion. And that's as loud as it gets, which again, that's been my issue with this mic. It's a dynamic mic, of course, but that's been my issue with this for the most of the time I've owned it. Now, let's go back to auto level. So I'm going to change it to far. I'm going to we'll keep it natural for Tish. See what you guys think. So here's the deal. It probably sounds a lot better. Now, if I go to near, it's quieter. So it's automatically adjusting based on assumptions, a formula built in to how far it thinks the microphone is. I played with this before. I personally still felt like far is where it needs to be. So now, if I were recording something that was going to get edited in post production or something like that, I may not want to be here because if you increase the gain, you are going to increase things that it can bring in that you can't necessarily, they're harder to adjust in post production versus if you are a little quiet and you can bump it up. There's just things, again, I don't want to do those things. So I just need it to sound good while I'm live and while I'm recording. I don't want to mess with the audio. So anyway, this is where we are. I personally had it selected on dark earlier. Tish said I sounded really bassy. That's kind of what I want though. I don't want to sound like a kid or I don't know. I do have a bit of a presence to my voice, and for me, I guess in a way, it sounds a little unnatural when I am in those higher, brighter sounds. So I'm gonna go back to dark for now. That's where we are. So I do have a bit of a deeper kind of voice of my voice carries. So okay, yeah. Tish says most of it goes over her head too. She said I turned off my bass boost on my speaker now. Try the dark mode again. Yeah, so we're in dark mode now. So there you go. That could have been it. It could have, I mean, that could be it, but it's okay. I'm okay to be somewhat bassy. I don't necessarily want it to, rumble any walls or anything. But anyway, so I can now lock the setting. So now I've locked the setting where I can now close the app. And when I reopen or restart my computer, it should maintain this setting. Now, what I'm interested to check and test, and I haven't tested yet, is whether or not once I close the app, like fully close it, because it's still open in the system tray on my PC. But once I close the app, is it still going to maintain those settings? It should. I would think it should. But anyway, so yeah, let me switch out of that scene. So yeah, so that's the application that came with the mic. So where I was going with this whole freaking spiel is that it got me excited when I was able to plug this in, the update to the firmware and the update to the software working together, they have improved the quality that we can achieve with just the USB. And let me tell you something. This is the MV7, by the way. So this is the Shure MV7. This is not the MV7 Plus or the MV7i or whatever the hell they've come out with. This is the original MV7. So we're all familiar with the Shure SM7B, which is the longer professional, like $400, XLR microphone that's been out forever and ever and ever. And it's like a great microphone, right? It's awesome. They came out with this, a lower price point, as well as XLR and USB compatible. It is a dynamic mic. It does require some gain boost, as we talked about. I didn't feel like I could achieve the gain I needed to with USB before at all. And so I had to go XLR with a cloud lifter And at that point, I was able to get to where I wanted to with this microphone, which was great. And it sounded great, sounded good, sounded buttery rich, right? But I didn't like having to have all that extra stuff. I didn't like it. And so I ended up just being like, my Elgato Wave 3 sounds amazing. Why am I even messing with this? So I kind of ended up I put it away. And so again, today I got excited when I was able to achieve the volume level and the sound that I wanted with just this chintzy USB cable. It is not, it is a USB micro to USB. It is not even a USB-C. It is a basic cable. I literally had to go dig one out. It's obviously not the cable that came with this thing. It's some blue cable I had. It's nothing crazy. So you also don't have to have some crazy USB-C input. And again, as I said earlier, I'm low on inputs. And right now I'm using my laptop with a docking station made by J5 Create, and it seems to be working. Because again, as I said earlier, I saw that Lawrence joined us. Hello, Lawrence. I had been running into all these crazy tech issues. I need to get off this Teams. Hold on. All these crazy tech issues and down in the studio. And while I was loving the way things were looking, I was just running into problems left and right. It was like if one thing was working, something else wasn't, or things just felt unstable, not just from a system standpoint. It's just been kind of an issue. So again, I'm trying to just peel back the extra stuff. Do I really need that? Do I really need this? I don't want to have 8,000 things of software on my system. I don't want to have to use different families of applications. So I'm to a point where I'm trying to get back to simplification. I like testing. I like playing with stuff. I can still do that. I still want to be able to do that. But when it comes to creating content, was feeling this significant pull to reduce the friction. And some of the friction was just these random weird tech issues that I couldn't explain. And I guess what I'm getting at is you can tinker too much. I have got to change the blinds. Hold on. It's gonna literally take me over. Hold on. Okay, that was the other thing. That's the other thing we're playing with today, is we've been playing with angles. And as you can see, an evening stream is gonna be a problem. I can fix that. Okay, that should be better. All right. And I know I'm really warm. Like everything's a little yellowy, right? Um, so yeah, U-Haul TV's here. What's up? Good to see you. Dusk stream, exactly. It's a sunset stream. All right, so here's where I'm going with this. When I decided today, like, okay, I don't know. I've been back and forth with energy. There's been a lot of changes in my life and things. And I just was like, I just want to get back to simplicity. I got to remove this friction because we all have enough mental friction up here, I think. So there's no room for tech friction. There just isn't. But at the same time, I was like, I know I can just get this set up basic. And I wanted to be back upstairs. I want to be able to create content downstairs and upstairs. And that's really important to me because I've been really enjoying working in this office and working here now that I'm back to sort of exploring entrepreneurship again and working with learning about this. I've been tinkering and playing with AI, of course, like we all have. If you haven't, I hope you start soon. And just, kind of like, what's this in between era that I'm in right now look like? And can I avoid going back to corporate America? I still love working in big business. I still absolutely have a huge place in my heart for it. However, I don't necessarily want to be like married to it. I want to be able to work with big companies, but also still have the flexibility of an entrepreneur. And so freelancing and consulting is kind of where I'm going. And guess how you land clients in that world? You create content, right? At least that's the way I want to land clients. I want to bring people in. I want to bring interest to people. And so I need to get back to creating content. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that the microphone created such a spark for me that it made me really wanna get this dialed in further, and then I was, like, recording myself while I was, like, talking, and I was, like, literally, like, recording these, like, vlog style videos, and they were not intended to be used for anything other than just me sort of um, sampling all this stuff so that I could listen to it, just again, try it out. So, earlier, I'm sitting here, I'm, like, literally, like, chilling, just, like, talking, and I'm, like I mean, it literally I should have here's what I got about 3/4 of the way into this process of different angles in this room and all these things. I'm like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Like, the stuff you've been rambling about just to have be here recording is quality. It's good stuff. It's things people should hear. It's things you should share. So and I literally said out loud to myself, there were multiple times I'm looking in the camera and I'm, like, looking at the angles on the screen. I'm like, "Okay, blah, 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 yada, yada." And I'm like, "You are overthinking this. Like, you are overthinking this. Like, you know what? This underneath there looks like crap and I hate it. And you know what? When I first moved into this house and moved into this office, I was like, that looks like crap under there. Got to take care of that. Have I? No. Uh, there's like two Ethernet jacks in there because somebody in this house at some point had decided to make this an upgraded office. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, there's so much wrong with so many things. And I literally was like, who cares? So I just got to a point where I was like, just stop. Like, stop. And so I was like, "You got your mic working again and you're excited and you just stop over freaking thinking it." My God. I'm just, you guys, many of you know this. Or I see that one of my very close friends, James, is here watching, and he freaking knows it better than anybody. But I have gone too in and out of this process, and it's gotten to a point where, like, I just gotta quit doing that. And so I watched a video yesterday of there's a guy I've been watching. I can't remember his name right now. Sorry. Dan something, but it's fine. I literally watched this video and I was like, it was about like procrastination and it's stuff we all know. We all know what procrastination really is. And I've literally given speeches on it. And the way he broke things down and the way that it just was so perfect. It was, like, such great content, such great timing. There wasn't anything special. It was just I was like, "Yes." It was everything I already know, but it literally was like, just, Anyway, so as I was rambling to myself, one of the things I was saying, and I said it out loud, and I should have written it down. I didn't write it down, but it was something along the lines of I think I said, "Your best video is the video you create." That's what I said. Your best video is the one you create. Guess what? Because you made it. Like, if you're waiting and you're sitting here and thinking about creating something great, you're never gonna make it, and therefore it never has a chance. And the worst video you ever make is the one you didn't make, right? And I was literally just like, how am I here? How did I go from where you all started hanging out with me to here, the overthinker, the procrastinator, all this bull crap? And it's like I'm making the worst videos ever right now because I ain't making shit. That's it. That's where I've been, you know? And so I just there's not even any bourbon in there. There's no bourbon in my body. Now, there's a lot of bourbon in that room right there, right next to me, which is the other thing. I'm just like, there's a mini fridge in the background, you know? But anyway, I don't know. So I wanted to get on here, hang out, and Tommy Stig says, "Are we live?" Yes, we are live. This is not AI. This is me in the raw. In the raw. Good afternoon from North Jersey. All right. Good deal. So I guess the next step is to kind of figure out where we go from here. And here's where here's one thing I wanted to that I can talk about. since I'm not just talking to myself. Oh, thanks, Tommy. It's good to see you too. And thanks for being here. I've missed being live. I've missed it. So yellow background and all the things. Here we are. Oh, here's the other thing. This lens is the kit lens. I had the freaking fancy lens hooked up and then I swapped it and I'm just like, it looks fine. It looks fine. So anyway, just so many things to be thinking about. Um, yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are awesome. I gotta say this too. Um, thank you. Like, thank you for not only sticking around, coming back, but also like the time, like when we're here and I'm just rambling or I'm tinkering and I break stuff or something doesn't go right. Thank you for just like still being here. If you're here and if you're watching me live, it's likely because you're a subscriber, because you got a notification. If you watching the replay and you made it this far in the stream, bless you. Bless you and welcome. Welcome to the show, right? But thank you for just, being here and providing the feedback and also just, I don't know, trusting the process, I guess, a little bit. Well, Mel figures this shit out. Okay, so there's a few things. I found this card. I don't know if this is gonna. Yes, they are making $37 more than you are. There is a story behind this, and I found this in my drawer in my desk. So uh, as I'm in between chapters in my career, if you will, I have been kind of going through some stuff and having some fun and getting, I'm going to be working on my website, which needs completely simplified and needs updated and just stuff like that, right? Like the getting back to your own marketing. And I've been going through stuff and I found this in one of my drawers. And it's a business advisor of mine that I had when I first started on my own, which was in 2014. 2014, I left, I started a side hustle, if you will, side hustle. It was a marketing, wanted to do marketing for small businesses, ended up leaving the software company I was working for to go full time into it because I had a client who, at the time, who I was starting to help. She finally was like, I need to blow this up. I need a new website. I need a rebrand. I need so much. Like, what are your thoughts on, coming on full time? I said, I don't want to be a full time employee, but how about I was starting to get other interests with other clients. So I had this sort of like anchor client who was willing to give me kind of like a deposit, like a 6-month deposit so that I felt secure. Um, and it was a good client, a good account, a good, fee, right? And so I was able to leave my job and go all in. So I started my agency, Addison Avenue Marketing, and I started taking on clients. And so I had this business advisor at the time, and I was doing agency stuff for local clients. And then it got to a point, and this is like my origin story. So I've told this story before, and I'm going to continue to lean into this story because I think origin stories are so powerful. And if you can revisit your origin story and it still applies and it still fires you up, then you need to hang on to that story. So that's where I'm at. Um, I'll keep this brief though, but I got to a point where I was trying to help these people and they really couldn't afford me. They were local small businesses. Some of them had some budgets and some of them just didn't, or some of them didn't put their dollars of their budgets in the marketing box, if you will. Okay. So they had the money, they just didn't want to spend it on marketing. So, and that's fine. So I got to this point where I was just like, God, I still want to help these people. And I was helping a lot of people for far too less than I should have been. So I had this realization that the dollars and the time, they weren't adding up, meaning I only have so many hours in the day. And at these rates and at this type of allotment, I'm not going to be making enough money. Right. And so I essentially was sitting down, I was thinking, and then all of a sudden I had this idea like, well, what if I could put them in a room together? And if I could just put them in a room together and teach them how to do their own stuff, then instead of teaching them one on one, then I teach them all together. They share my fee. And that's when the workshops were born. And I named them the DIY marketing workshops. And that's where it all started. And then I started learning about online courses and blah, blah, blah. And long story short, I'm not very good at long story short, am I? Um, I was I opted in for this free course. I think it was on Teachable. I don't remember if it was Teachable or if it was through her website. And I'm not going to say who it was because she's amazing. She's incredible. Um, but I opted in for this course, right? And it was like maybe I paid for it. That's what it was. I paid for it. I paid $37. I was trying to remember how did I get to this part. This I actually paid for this course and it was 37 bucks. And I'm watching this course and it's in Teachable and it's in like if you remember Teachable when it first came out, it was like, it was like every little segment of the course was a line and you clicked on it and opened the new video. It was very basic. And I'm watching this thing and as I'm going, there's like 20 things you click on for 20 different videos and you can see the timestamp so you know how long they are. And I'm watching this thing and about 4 videos in, I'm like, this chick took a webinar that she did and she has basically broken it up into these chapters and has called it a course. And I paid $37 for this thing. And it's just a webinar. It's an hour-long webinar that she has broken up. She even kept her like intro in there. And she's like saying something and she's like, let's get crack-a-lackin'. And like that was like the crack-a-lackin' was like the name of the chapter or something. And I'm like, are you serious right now? And again, this woman's amazing. She's very talented. She's incredible. I love her. She's awesome. She's awesome. But at the time, this was like in 2015, I'm literally like, are you flipping serious? I just paid $37 for somebody to repurpose a Google webinar that was probably recorded on this Logitech 920 crappy little webcam with crappy little audio with flickering white balance because it was set on auto. And I'm sitting there and I'm telling my business advisor this story and I'm talking about it. And I'm just like, it's nothing that crazy. It's da, 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 da. And I was kind of annoyed and she totally called me out on it. She said, because I had been talking about making online courses, taking the content I was doing in these physical workshops and converting them into online courses. And you know what she said to me? She said, they're making $37 more than you are. Stopped me in my flipping tracks. I sat there and I looked at her and I was like, you are absolutely correct. I mean, she was right. And the whole point is that we get these ideas in our head that it has to be a certain way and it has to be all this stuff and it has to be this level. And it doesn't. It doesn't. And you know what's crazy is people are still doing this. In fact, people are doing it more and more, I think, now with the whole AI helping people repurpose things into clips and into all these things. And and you guys are funny. I'm waiting for the sun to get those circles into Mel's eyes. Let's just hope they do that. So I found this and I got it out and I have had it sitting out, which if you look closely, again, you can see there's a pinhole at the top because this used to be pinned. This was pinned on my wall. It's been pinned on a bulletin board and I got it out and I've had it out ever since. And then what did I write down? The other thing I wrote this down last night. And this has a lot to do with you guys, which is part of where I was going with this. This is what I do this, by the way, I always have note cards out and I have these moments. I wrote down small but mighty. And you know what? I think this applies to a lot of you. I know that some of you, as you got started and we started hanging out, you had really small channels and you've grown. And man, it's freaking cool. Like some of you guys have really, really blown up. And it's so cool to see. And I love it. And then some of you are still figuring it out, or, maybe you're like me and you've kind of still struggled with the full roadmap of where you want to go. Or maybe you just, your channel just remains to stay intimate, right? It's small, but it's mighty. If you have a small audience, it is a mighty audience, especially if you've been doing it for a while and the same people keep coming back. That's how I feel about you guys. Those of you that are with me live tonight, that's how I feel about you guys. And again, if you are watching the replay and you have made it this far, you deserve an award. That's for dang sure. So you replay superstars is what you are right now. But I literally am like, okay, I need to remember and continue to think about the small and mighty subscribers, the group of subscribers that I have. Like you guys are amazing. And it's not all about growth. It's really never been about going viral or trying to get into some, huge channel. For me, it's always been about milestones and steps in the process. And I remember when I got to 100 subscribers, and that back then that unlocked your ability to go live, and it happened by accident. It happened because of some weird video I made and I wasn't even really active on my channel. And there was this video that I made that all of a sudden just like it didn't go viral, right? But like it kind of did for that back then. And it was this silly video I made about how to use your notes app on your iPhone to make a to-do list. Like literally, it was that basic. And it just boomed and all these people saw it, and then the algorithm kept pushing it to people and people started subscribing. And then I started doing live video with stuff and I learned some other things and people latched onto those. So I look at milestones. I remember when I hit 100 people, and then I remember when I hit 1,000 subscribers and we celebrated it. I remember I did this live show and we celebrated, we talked about it and it was really cool. And it was actually right around when I think I was launching a course. But so for me, it's all about milestones. It's for me, I don't have some goal of like, I want to get to 50,000 subscribers or I want to go viral or I want to whatever. I do want to get to a place where I'm regular and I'm consistent. And I want to get monetized, even though I think monetization means less today than it did 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I think it's still valuable and it's still a thing. And believe me, it's a goal. However, I personally am just trying to get to a place of clarity, to be really honest with you. And for me, the only way I get clarity is through action. I have to be in it. I got to be touching stuff. I got to be doing stuff. I need to be tinkering. And that's the only way I get clarity. And so for me, my goal right now is not growing the channel or doing certain things. I don't even know if this is the channel where I'm going to become clear. This is a safe place where we all hang out and you guys have been here and I appreciate it. And I think some of you are also sometimes looking for that clarity too, right? Maybe you've been doing some stuff, you've been changing some things. You're trying to figure. I mean, Tish, I know is she's got a different candy now, or candy. Tish has a different channel now, different focus, right? And I don't know if I'm going to change my focus. I don't know. I know that the things I'm passionate about, which is funny. Another card here, and I got to read a couple comments. I literally do feel like, first of all, I am a very multi-passionate person. That's always been my thing. That is never changing. And makes it very difficult to be a creator or to be an entrepreneur because, as we all know, um, you know, staying a little narrow helps you go deeper, right? And so, interestingly enough, I wrote that down today too. Go deep and go wide. Where's that card? Aha, it's right here. So this happened a few nights ago. Actually, a few nights ago. God, it's probably 3 weeks ago. I just feel like there's the consultant me, which is that big business. I mean, the company I came from was over 300 million. I was a VP of business development for a segment of that business, a large segment of it, more than half of it. And I mean, I literally work with Fortune 50 companies in my life, in my world. But I have the passion and the heart for the teams in those companies and the people. And also, I love working with smaller businesses. I like to teach them and help them take the big company concepts and apply it in the appropriate way that they should. So anyway, there's that sort of consultant me that's like consults with business consulting, whether it be big business or small business. And then there's the agency me, which is like I do like to do stuff. In fact, I've done a couple of different brand activations for some local people. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy just sitting down and helping people tweak up their logo, clean up their brand, organize their brand more so, and then put some things out there, whether it's a basic, really basic one-pager website, get some marketing materials put together, like literally the starting from ground zero, get your social media profiles, do the cover photos, like brand activation. It's literally, you went from basically zero to, hey, I'm a real company. And it's nothing extravagant. We're not doing ads. We're not doing big spends. We're just doing basic stuff to get them on the map. And the way that they just feel like so proud, like there's my business. I love that freaking feeling. So I like doing those types of things. So I still want to be doing some stuff. I want to work with freelancers again and all that. And then there's the motivation me, like the motivator me, right? The person who likes to inspire, likes to instill confidence and courage in people so that they gain confidence, right? And that I think is probably where most of my energy falls on this channel and in this content. And so I sometimes struggle with, how do I bring it all together? Does it all belong together, or do they belong in different places? Because one, I got bills to pay, I got a mortgage to pay, and that ain't coming from a monetized YouTube channel. It sure as hell isn't coming anytime soon. And second, it's probably not coming from my local small business clients. I love them all, but you know what I mean? So scaling, we're back in the same conversation where we started talking about this, right? We're back in that same conversation. How do I scale? How do I get to a place where I can have the freedom? UL TV kind of said it earlier, I think, or maybe it was Tommy Stiggs. I don't remember. Somebody said, yes, entrepreneurship equals like flexibility. That's what I want. And I need that right now. I feel it in my heart and in my gut. And so then the other aspect is, I wanna do what I wanna do. I wanna do what fuels my soul. Like, that is so critical to me right now, that I wanna fuel my soul, whether it be the people that fuel my soul that I work with, or whether it be the work that I do. And so this fuels my soul, right? We know that. This doesn't necessarily pay the bills, right? And so unless I get picked up by some brand again, or somebody wants to, have me come help with their content and be in their content, whatever, that's a different story. But I'm not getting anywhere if I'm not getting anywhere. So my point is that my goals are clarity. That's my main focus, is clarity, clarity, clarity. And so I am trying to figure out, does that mean, you know, hello, Marianne? Does that mean create an offshoot channel? Again, I'm not a fan of people who have 10,000 channels, even though it's becoming a thing. I don't think I can handle that, right? We all know that I can barely handle this freaking crap. We just talked about all that. But what I'm getting at is, I think I need to be able to have some time to throw spaghetti at the wall a little bit. Everything I just said explains everything to you about who I am and where I am and how I sort of segment my passions and my thought process, how I help and what I do. That's not changing. That's actually how it's always been. I'm just trying to figure out, how do I create clarity for myself so that I know where I want to go in all this journey, but also create clarity for my audience, for my future clients, for my future whatever, my future company wants to hire me, the future brand that wants to bring me on. I don't know. Again, we are in this exploratory period. That's why I'm calling it, I'm in between chapters, and I don't know what the next chapters are. Lots of options. So the clarity could come from, I don't necessarily want to muck up all this here if I wanna try a few different things. That's where I've been struggling a little bit, but when I say struggling, I've been slowly progressing my thought processes. I've been stuck before, I've been in ruts before. I don't feel like I'm in a rut right now. That there is a clear difference between where I am today and where I've been before, when I've been sort of on pause. There's been times when I've been truly stuck, overthinking, massively overthinking, and just stuck, and then in a rut because of that stuckness. Because when I get stuck, if I'm not careful and I don't get out of that mud really quick, depression falls and other things come, and I really back down. Then there's this where I am now. I feel a little stuck, but I don't feel like I'm in a rut. It's not a rut stuck. It's just, I'm stuck in this, I'm in an in between. I'm sort of like, okay, I can see stuff, I can feel stuff, and I'm continuing to explore. And what I've been doing that's different than in my past is, I'm fueling my brain and I'm fueling my motivation right now. So it's a slump. I mean, a slump is a great word. Yes, slump is a good word, right? Um, I'm I'm fueling myself with content that is not creating, it's not creating jealousy or envy, but it's creating, again, I'm like trying to really, I'm very much more self-aware than I've ever been. So I think there's a huge difference, and I'm also more willing. I'm willing to be self-aware. I haven't always been willing to be self-aware. Uh, but what I'm doing is, I'm again, as I mentioned, I feel like I'm, even though I'm a little stuck, I feel like I'm pecking away at the next steps. Like, it feels good. And the only thing that hasn't felt good is not going live, not creating content. Because every day that goes on, every day that goes on that I don't mark that off because it's on my freaking every single day list. It's everywhere. It's on every freaking list you can find, and as you can imagine, I have them. It is something that is the only thing that really eats at me, is not creating and not being present. And so again, today's journey of get the mic back out, figure this out, keep it simple, scale back the tech, has been about removing friction, um, and creating an expectation that Mel's live videos might look 5 different ways, right? And that's okay, because as long as you have something to say, I think for the most part, your small but mighty audience doesn't care about the warm office look because the sun has gone down and this is just where you are today. The audience doesn't care. If you're small but mighty audience, what they care about is the shit you're talking about. And as long as you have content, it doesn't have to be perfect. I used to preach this all the time. So and you that all of you that have been around know that. You've been there. You've seen it. You've been part of it, right? Like some of you have overcome it and have blown up. Marianne is freaking, I'm so proud of Marianne. Like she's one of them. She just joined us. So, like I say a lot of this because I think people still need to hear it, but I think a lot of it is I just need to hear it too, right? And it's always in my brain. That's the part that gets me so frustrated for somebody like me is I know what I need to do. That doesn't necessarily make it easy, right? I know what I should be doing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's that simple to do it. And I've had lots of talks with people when I've been in my prime, talking to people about that and trying to get them out of that. And the only thing that makes it better is action, is getting into action. Action creates clarity, action creates confidence. It works. It creates momentum. And so back to the content piece. So I've been like, okay, just freaking make some content. And you know what's interesting? It's kind of funny. I've been listening to Gary Vee again, and I used to listen to him. I liked him a lot. Then he kind of drove me crazy. And then it was like he was too much. It was like too much Gary Vee. Like I need no more Gary Vee. So I really like just muted him basically. But recently he's been popping back up and stuff, and I've been listening to him again. And when Addie and I were on our way back we went to Pensacola Beach for spring break and we drove. And so it's a 12-hour drive. And when we were on our way back, I was like, I think I'm going to try to power through, kiddo. I want to get home tonight. She's like, I'd love to get home tonight. And she's not driving yet, but you know what she did was so cute. She stayed awake. And so I started listening to Gary V's audio experience, which is basically his content that's just chopped up into a podcast. And I haven't really even been listening to podcasts lately because sometimes when I get into weird ruts, I back off of all content because it just makes me feel bad. But again, lately I've been focused on content that makes me feel good, is motivating me, it's encouraging me. And so I started listening to it and I liked the first one. I was like, that was good. Started listening again. And Addie had her headphones in. She's like, I don't really want to listen. So she sat in the front seat, stayed awake. I listened to a lot of Gary Vee that night. And what was really interesting is he was talking and I'm like, I mean, Gary Vee's saying the same thing he was saying when I was listening to him 6 years ago. Like he was saying a lot of the same stuff. It was just relative to today. He was talking about AI, he was talking about other things, but he was still saying all the same stuff. And in one of these episodes, he was saying something, and I forget what he said, but it was so funny. And he literally goes, I'm still saying the same shit I've been saying. He goes, I just say the same shit over and over and over again. And I'm literally like, yeah, you kind of do. Like, he kind of does. And he's still Gary Vee. And then I started thinking to myself, I I talk about a lot of the same stuff. The stuff that I'm still passionate about today, or that I was passionate about years ago, is the same stuff I'm still passionate about today. And it still applies. And I'm like, it's so okay. And it's completely okay. So I literally was like, I got to write some stuff down. What are the things that I'm super passionate about that I could literally start creating content on like that? And this is what I wrote down. So I wrote down brand dimensions. I'm all about it. And honestly, I think I'm even more passionate about it than I used to be because the core values piece, I think, is becoming so much more important. And people are starting to understand more fully what it means to have core values. Like, our core values have become challenged. Our core values have become more obvious to us because we are in a very polarizing world. Whether it's politics or anything else, it is so polarizing right now. There's the gaps have gotten so much further. I mean, if I'm talking politics, right? I mean, just because it's easy, the far left has gotten further, and the far right has gotten further. The distance between the edges of those two categories has gotten further apart. I also think that there's this messy middle that is where this shakenness has happened. So I think there's a lot of people where the middle is now bigger, and so the gray areas become bigger, and so people are seeking their values. They're just like, why does that bother me so much? Well, it bothers you so much because it goes against your core values. But yet I still agree with this. You can agree with certain things, but it doesn't mean that the style is there, right? And so again, I guess what I'm getting at is I'm getting really worked up because I just feel this. I just think that our brand dimensions, I've always talked about this, and Tish was actually in person when I spoke about this at Vid Summit years ago. It was the last time I actually did a speech, if you will, speech. God, wasn't a keynote, okay? It wasn't a keynote. It was my keynote. If I were to give a keynote, it would have been that would have been the keynote. But anyway, a speech. I feel like I just went back to like 1991. I spoke at Vid Summit, and I had like the 8 a.m. slot before the keynote. But anyway, it was a great, great time. I talked about this, and I've talked about it from the very first time I ever walked on any stage. It was what I presented on. The very first time to actually the last time, and all the times in between. But I believe that we have 4 core brand dimensions. And so one of the topics I wrote down was brand dimensions. Talk about it again, bring it back up, get it back out there. Because also I wrote how your personal life, I said literally how your personal life and experiences carry over to your professional life and your business. And I think I've always believed in that, but I just think it's becoming so much more obvious. And we know that certain generations have stronger needs to feel personally connected to the work they do. They need that they looking for that purpose-driven work, while others can detach themselves from that further, and they're like, my purpose is to put money in my bank account, which is fine, right? Again, those are different values. And I think that there's just more awareness, and when more people are talking about something, then more people are talking about it, and then more people are thinking about it. And so I think that even though I've talked about it for years, many, many, many times, it's still applies. Never will change. This will never change. But I just think that it's time to talk about it again. And I think that we've gotten fresh stuff to talk about. The other thing I wrote down was customer experience. And then I wrote down all 360 degrees. So I've always been passionate about the customer experience, but I think that the customer experience is obviously, and I've talked about this before, it's more than just the way your customers experience buying your product or shopping in your store, right? It's everything. They first experience you online, then maybe they call, or do they talk to an AI person, or do they talk to a real person? Or is there even a phone number for them to call, or do they have to go online and fill out a form? Like, that whole customer journey, that whole experience goes from, you know, from online to in person to whatever. I think that customer experience has been shaken. I think it's been shaken. I think that, and now there's a lot of confusion with AI and what AI can do, how AI is going to play a role in that customer experience, how AI is going to play a role in the operations of businesses, et cetera. I just think that the customer experience is getting lost a little bit. It's not it's not getting lost for everyone. There are people, in fact, one of my clients who I love, they were becoming very focused on the customer experience to a point where I'm excited. I don't want to say the name of this company. They're an auto parts store is what I'll say, but they're getting very focused on the customer experience where maybe they haven't been in the past. And they're really making sure they know their customer versus DIY versus professional, right? And so I was like so worked up talking to them about that stuff. Whereas other retailers that I was working with or even wasn't working with, They were very removed from it. They were just focused on product mix. Because you know why? They kind of had to be. Because the whole tariffs thing, I think people literally were like, we don't have a customer experience if we don't have product on the shelf. So again, I just think the customer experience has been shaken and people have been distracted. And there are some people focused on it and some people that aren't. And then I think there's a lot of people that are like, I don't freaking know what to do. So I want to talk about the customer experience, but all 360 degrees of it. So there might be something I coined there a little bit, 360 customer experience. I don't know, whatever. And then the other thing I wrote down is your people matter now more than ever. I think that, and when I say people, I could be meaning the audience, your small but mighty audience, your small but mighty email subscription, list, whatever it might be, your small but mighty, list of customers. I think that people matter more than ever. I think people matter more than ever because people, I think, are just, again, there's so much about what's going on in our world that people are needing connection and people are needing heartfelt trust. People are scared of what's happening. People are shaken. People have lost their jobs. People, I mean, just so much has happened. And then also, just with AI, I just think I think the whole people factor is going to play a very prevalent role again. I've always been passionate about people, putting people in your content and in showcasing your people. I think it's that much more important than it ever was before. And then the other thing that I wrote down is you matter now more than ever. So I wrote down your people matter now more than ever. And then right after that, I wrote you matter now more than ever. And what I meant by that was that especially with AI, I mean, I'm not trying to use this as the only reason, but you people need you, right? They need to connect with you. Whether it's a business you operate or a channel you own or whatever. If I were on LinkedIn, the tone of this conversation would probably be very much more around business and whether it be, you as a leader or whatever it is. But here we are on YouTube and we're only on YouTube for this live recording. And it just means that you matter. Like whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it be bring on customers or lead a cause or lead people, you matter more than ever. And so putting yourself out there so that you can make those connections, create that clarity is so much more important than it's ever been. And with AI and what AI is about to bring to us, and I think AI is wonderful. I think AI is great. I am not gonna, sugarcoat this. AI is going to replace many jobs. It's going to replace many tasks. AI, therefore, might replace some people as they currently exist, but AI is not going to replace people. Like AI is not going to just all of a sudden blossom in 36 months and the world is going to have 5 million people less existing. No, that's not going to happen. Like AI is not going to replace people. It's going to replace tasks and functions and it's going to change people. It's not going to replace people. And so the other thing it's going to do is it is going to create a new um, style of being, if we will, that we interact with or that we consume content from. I mean, the amount of AI influencers that are about to be created over the next freaking 1 month to 12 months that people are going to be buying from or shopping from or learning from is about to get crazy. But that makes it that much more important for people to know who you are because at the end of the day, people will listen to a robot. That's going to happen. However, people connect with other people, humans. Human to human connection is going to be valued that much more than it ever has been for the reasons I talked about earlier, but also because of people are just going to be thirsty for it and you need to be there for it. Right? You need to be present for it. And again, whether that be your team or your family or your customers or your audience or whatever it is. And so your people matter more than ever, but you matter more than that even. So you matter most for sure. And then the last thing I wrote on this card that I wrote back at the top because I ran out of room at the bottom is I put go deep and go wide. Go deep and go wide. And what I mean by that is those are like core pillars of like stuff I talk about. And going deep would be kind of a little bit of what I just did, right? But going wide, so when I say you matter more than ever, you need to be out there. Well, how? Okay, live video is one way. Well, that's way over here. I can go wide and talk about and teach you how to put yourself out there. And I can teach you concepts about, using software, doing things so that you're putting yourself out there, right? And brand dimensions, I can go wide and talk about, the style of your logo or whatever if I really wanted to. So go deep and go wide, and you will never run out of content ideas, right? And I start thinking about that, and I thought that's what Gary Vee's done. That's why he said what he said. Like everything he says isn't the same. Like every piece that he says a lot, he repeats himself a lot, but he's also put a lot out there and he's been doing it for a long time. But the core concepts have not changed for him. His core beliefs and the core pillars of what he talks about has not changed. He just has gone wide with all of it, and then he tends to bring it back home a lot, which is why you hear some of the common themes. So that's what we should all be doing too. So it's kind of something I was thinking about. So as I said earlier, while I have maybe been a little stuck, I am not in a rut and I am not stuck. I'm not like fully stuck. I'm like 1 foot stuck and 1 foot unstuck in the mud. Okay. So like I got 1 foot in there and I got 1 foot out. And I'm hanging on to like a tree branch. I'm about to pull myself out a little bit. But anyway, this is me going way deeper than I expected tonight and way deeper than I planned on this particular stream. I didn't expect to show you my note cards, my index cards of the crap that falls out of my brain. Did not expect to share this with you. Didn't expect to tell you the $37 story again, which is part of my origin story as well. So, but hey, that's the beauty of it, right? And because I've stayed focused on this and gone on this ramble bamble, as my friend Heather Sager always, that's her phrase, ramble bamble. I didn't really pay much attention to your comments. I know normally I'm very big on that, but at the same time, I'm also very big on trying to, when you're in the flow, stay in the flow. That's huge. When you're in the momentum, stay in it. So yeah, let's see. Okay, I'm backing up a little bit because I wanted to. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. Robin's Egg Blue Creations. She's just not joining us. She's gonna figure it out here in a second. You might want to watch the replay on this one. Buckle up though. Buckle up for it. Um, Look at that. Tommy Stig says, yes, I remember starting with 5 subs and watching you. Let's see, like our journeys have all just gone in so many different directions. Yeah, it's one of those things. Let's see. I saw Fish says, switched mediums. I still create art. It's just edible now. I hope it helps people create their joy. That's always been my purpose. Life gets lifey and we can all use some joy. That's a really great point. She's still creating art. She's still creating. It's just a different type of art, right? She's making candy. And it's edible art basically. So that's great. And I think that says a lot, Tish. To me, that's an evolution of you. That's an evolution of you following your passion, but also following maybe the interest. And I think that's okay. I think sometimes people say, oh, you just change this and you change that because you're just following the algorithm. No, not necessarily at all. And I think that's a great example of you evolving. That's evolution, right? I love it. Marianne says, good day, Mel. I love that you're hanging out with us, Marianne, at least for a little bit. Let's see. Oh, this is great. Treading water isn't swimming. Um, Treading water isn't swimming, but it's not sinking. It's not drowning either, right? So, let me see here. I saw something I wanted to pull up. Oh, here it is. Marianne said, maybe stuck as in direction. You're moving, just not too sure which way to go. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, um, I think that's some of the stuckness I feel is the problem with me too is that my brain, not just the AD, ADD, ADHD brain, but like my brain can go deep and it can go wide and it can do it really fast. And so I also am a visionary. While I like to do things and get things done and I like to be in it, I'm a visionary. I can see I'll get a vision and then I can see the vision and the vision and the vision after that. And sometimes I get too far and the problem is when you get too far in your vision, you you've the other thing is I'm equal. I am literally equal. I've taken all these tests all the time and assessments over the years. I am like equal creative brain and equal like pragmatic brain. And so I can have these awesome ideas and these cool things, these visions, but then I can also talk myself in out of it very quickly. I can explain why it won't work very quickly, or here's the 10 scenarios that could happen. Make sure you prevent the worst thing from happening. How will you do that? And then, you get overthink it all and you get stuck. And that happens to me more than really anything, to be honest with you. Is that those two sides of my brain start arguing. So yeah, I was like, "Ugh," I wanted to let's see. Oh, yeah, I like this too. Marion said, I had to stop thinking that blow up means hundreds of thousands of followers. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. And Marianne is doing so good. I love it. I just love seeing that you continue to keep moving. Let's see. Dang says the advice you gave people when they were stuck used to be schedule a live stream, even if it is one time per month, then one next month, then one more, and get a rhythm, even if it's slow. He's right, and this is why it's really pretty cool because some of y'all, remember the stuff I used to say, and you're right, it's exactly it's true. I think I've gotten into this like, oh, well, where my success was and where I was really in the flow was a weekly live stream. It was Tuesdays at 2, if you guys remember, and it was like this and this and that, right? And it doesn't have to look like that. And that's the thing. I don't know what it's going to look like. Like, and I'm not even making a commitment to what it's going to look like at this point because I'm sick of I'm not that I'm not afraid to go tell you guys, "I'm gonna do this," and then I'll be like, "Oh, I have to do it because I told him I was going to." I put it in the ether or the EOS or whatever. What is that phrase? I can't remember. Boy, this lighting is really driving me crazy, by the way. But like I you all know that. I can make a commitment and I still won't do it, you know? So that doesn't scare me. There's some people that are like that puts them there. Now in certain scenarios that I will do that, right? For sure. But yeah, I'm not scared enough to let to not follow through with it, I guess. Let's see. But, again, so my point is I'm not making a commitment because I know it doesn't mean anything because I don't know what I wanna commit to or can commit to right now. So I'm not making commitments because if I make commitments, they don't mean anything. So why make a commitment? Tish says that repetition is the way to learn. I know I need to get that muscle memory before I feel confident. It goes the same with thoughts and words. Yep, yep. She said it was better than what was on the main stage. I had a couple people tell me that actually, but it's okay. It was a point that I think certain people needed to hear. It was good. It was awesome. It was fun too. Dang says, I think I'm going to watch the replay 10 times and fast forward just to watch the circle lights move across the screen. Very cool high tech circle lights you have there, right? There's just the holes in my blinds. I feel like I could open the blinds at least on one side. I could probably open them a little bit. Might make everything less oompa loompa ish, right? Let's see. Can't do that. Yeah, we can only go part of the way. Okay, so Um, that kind of reminded me. I literally played with like so many different angles in this room. And one of the things that I was struggling with was exactly that. Like today's been this beautiful day. It's a little chilly, but we've had these popcorn clouds in the sky. So the sun kind of comes and goes. And so there's been this just like hovering and change of light. And I'm like, well, that's exactly why it's hard to create content in a room with windows because of that. not on the days when it's cloudy and not on the days when it's just pure sun and not fluctuating. Also, the evening, the sun is setting on this side of the house. Now, that's why we're having all this evolution in the light tonight. And the circles are traveling across my body during the live stream. But you're right. I wonder what that would look like in fast forward. It could be kind of interesting. But I was changing all these angles today. And one of the things I was struggling with was, well, that'll work this time of day, but it won't work this time of day. And oh, like I want to sit here and I want to be comfortable because I do want to get to I want to create my I want to stay podcasting. I love live stream and I love video, but I love podcasting. I just think that there's something special about it. And I also think that I don't know, there's something about the audience over there. I know that people are talking about how, oh, podcasting is harder and harder to gain reach. But again, back to the small and mighty. Like I'm not necessarily trying to grow some crazy podcast. I just want to make sure I can reach people where they are. And I think there's plenty of people on in the podcast world. And I think I still have plenty of subscribers that will it'll pop up for them. And if it's still relevant to them, it's still relevant to them. So I still believe in it and I still want to do it. So I want to have like a setup and a view that I can be sort of casual and hanging out and talking. Oh my gosh, you guys are great. You guys are so great. I gotta catch up in the live comments here. You guys are so freaking awesome. James, I'm surprised James stuck with us. He's usually busy tinkering on his own and off doing all kinds of things for sure. He says, "Good to see you back in the groove, my friend." Yeah, James and I are really close, and one of my favorite people who's really stuck by me. And like you have some of these creator friends, and they're just acquaintances, if you will. But then you have some of these creator friends, they become real friends. And James and I think, have developed a real friendship, and I really love it. And he says, I do love the fact that brain of yours keeps me in check many times. Yeah, I mean, like we help each other. We got each other's back, right? So sometimes I'll be texting him in the middle of something. I'm like, dude, uh, check this or do this. So I love this from Robin. Up, she switched it up. She moved to her other channel. There's more than one way to get to the end result. Progress is still progress, even if you took the long way or a few detours. I believe in that as well, as long as you continue to move forward, right? Because it's easy to get stuck in that too, to kind of continue to give yourself permission. I think giving yourself permission is beautiful and valuable, but it's also dangerous. It can be dangerous at times. And I think I've caught myself doing that, almost like giving myself a little too much permission and not enough kick in the ass, I guess is the way to put it, for lack of a better term. Tommy says, this YouTube live, okay, Mel, this YouTube live have helped me help my ADHD. I was stuck when I first pushed live. My thought to speech was off because of 4-minute strokes. I have been rehabilitated by doing lives. Well, that's amazing. Like, see, I got to tell you, like, you just never know. Again, I think that there's so much more to it. I think y- back to the go deep and go wide. I think you have to start deep before you can go wide, right? I think that there's a lot of depth in why we're doing what we're doing. And there's also a lot of surprise outcomes that can happen when we do these things. There's a lot that can come out of getting into action and doing things, both for just, our initial goals and then goals we didn't even know we had. And we can achieve things we didn't even know we had. And I definitely think that there's so much that can come out of it. And I absolutely freaking love it. I love it. That's so cool. Thanks for sharing that, Tommy. Marion says, that's why I love watching, because you talk about the whole journey, not just the wins. Yes, we know that, don't we? We do know that. Um, for sure. All right. So, I really didn't have a full plan. Like I said earlier, I was playing around with some stuff. I've got my camera set up on a tripod that is on its shortest setting. It's on top of my desk, which is a pretty big desk that I've got set up here. And it's actually a table. It's a table I bought on Wayfair. It's a small table, but it's really shaped and suited for a desk more so than I would call a dining room table. But I like it because it's really big. I've got the one main monitor and I've got a docking station and my laptop. And again, this isn't the studio. The studio's downstairs, and I've dialed it in. I got it really, really great. But again, I was just running into all these tech issues to a point where I was just kind of frustrated. And every time I went down there, I would turn all the lights on and I would start to set up, and I just kind of sit there and just be like, I don't know. I felt friction for some reason. And so I thought I need to be able to create content in lots of different locations and in lots of different ways. And yes, even if it's a makeshift studio, like UL TV said, I just was like, screw it, let's just do it. And you know what's interesting is I'm still using StreamYard. I still love StreamYard. In fact, they continue to make updates and enhancements to it that I freaking love. And I'm sure I know I've got some Ecamm users and people in here as well. And I think Ecamm's great. Ecamm's brand and the culture of those people is off the charts. Like, you don't find stuff like that. So the Ecamm fam is a real thing, and that is super cool. And I think that I love learning from the Ecamm people. I watch their stuff. I subscribe to all their things. I love it. I just am not a Mac person. Never have been. And I don't own a Mac, and I don't think I'm going to. So anyway, my point is that because it's Mac only, it prevents me from using it. I'm sure it's fantastic. And I know many of you have switched, and I think that your streams look great. I just continue to like the simplicity of StreamYard. I do. The only issue I've had, which is crazy because I thought it was my internet for so freaking long, is that it will not work with Chrome anymore because something has happened in Chrome, in my Chrome, that it downgrades my webcam upload. It encodes it. It has to do with encoding. It is the weirdest thing. I have spent hours and hours and hours, and I am not kidding when I say I bet you I have spent 40 hours total, probably more, over the last 2 years. Yeah, in fact, I know I have. I've probably spent almost 100 hours dealing with this because at first I thought it was internet and I thought it was this. Between like trying different routers, like literally up in my attic, figuring out there's this huge splitter system up in my attic, figuring out which cables are actually live. I bought this kit to figure out what freaking lines go to what thing up in the attic, and now I know they're all labeled now. But like literally I'm talking like crazy stuff. And it was not even the freaking internet. I upgraded my internet, which I'm glad I did anyway. Um, I've installed a mesh system. It wasn't that. I knew it wasn't that because I literally am like, I'm 10 feet from the router. It's not that. And then yeah, and that's honestly, I'm using Firefox, who just did an update. And Firefox is trying to hang out with the cool kids now because they just did an update and they've rebranded and their colors are cool. But yeah, anyway, there are some limitations with Firefox, but Chat GPT and I have spent a lot of hours together troubleshooting this, which by the way, if you have any tech issues or any kind of IT issues, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. It is crazy. I mean, it's like having an IT professional sitting there looking over your shoulder. But my point is that that's the only issue I've had, and it's not a StreamYard issue. It is 100% something that's happened in Chrome, and it is like deep in the settings where it's like forcing. And I've looked it up a little bit more recently, and I am seeing like some stuff that pops up like in Reddit, but nobody solves the problem. That's what's weird is people are saying they're experiencing things, not just with StreamYard, but just in general, and they're not there's no resolution. People know what it probably is, but there's no like, you don't read it and be like, oh, that's what fixed it. And everything that we get to with the chat GPT help wants me to go into like the back end settings of Chrome. And I'm talking like you go to like this weird link website and it pulls up these back end settings of Chrome and it wants me to like kind of manually configure some stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to manually configure something because once you start going custom, that to me is just a can you're kicking down the road. Once you start custom here, well, then what if Chrome updates something or something changes? You have to like remember, oh, but remember I've got that one knob that's dialed in this way and not the default way. So that it could break something down the road. And so I don't want to risk it. but clearly something's broken. And if you sit here and try to tell me to reinstall Chrome, I've actually done that. I have literally uninstalled Chrome, reinstalled it, and I don't know. I've got a few more things to try and to change, but I'm not using Chrome, and that is something that has also held me back, which seems really silly, but, like, there's a couple limitations with Firefox when it comes to, some audio stuff, which is not a big deal, but one thing I did notice is that the color profile when I stream using Firefox is different than when I stream using Chrome. Very interesting concept there, to be honest with you. I thought that was always a camera a difference in the camera. It's not. So it's definitely weird. It's like higher contrast, richer colors on Chrome versus things are just maybe a little bit less vibrant with Firefox. But again, it goes back to really doesn't matter. So all the previous live streams I've done within the last year because I hadn't gone live for so long, are with Firefox. And Chrome is literally unusable at this point, and I still haven't figured it out. So, um, so I saw, hold on a second. I saw something from Lawrence, I think. There you go. Scrappy, not crappy. That's right. Oh, she said that may be why StreamYard was hinky for me. I'm a Chrome gal all the way. Yeah, honestly, try it. Try Firefox. See if it's better. I don't know. Lawrence says Ecamm has the culture that StreamYard used to have. I agree. StreamYard's culture has definitely changed. I feel like this more recent group of people that have gotten involved in the product, it's still owned by Bending Spoons, but when Bending Spoons first took over and then got rid of all the StreamYard people, that little period of time, there were some people involved. They really didn't do anything. The product really didn't do much, and it's probably because they were they were going through a period which is I think okay and it's healthy. They were just getting things, back on track. Probably realigning some money, realigning some funding because they had all these things in their roadmap, but then they weren't really doing anything. The only issue I had was that there were a few times that they asked us, a group of us, to provide some feedback on some features, and we did, and it felt like they didn't listen to us. Like, it felt like they weren't really listening to us. It's like, "Why are you asking us?" And it was like that kind of that bothered me a little bit. But other than that, they were just kinda, like, benign for a while. They never posted, they never streamed, they didn't respond to comments in the group. Like, it was just like they were a little bit null for a while. But then now that there's a new group, assigned to the product, man, you can just tell though, the they've been just pumping out updates, and they're great updates. Most of them I approve and like. Some of them I'm like, I probably wouldn't have put that at the top of the list, but they're great. They continue to make great improvements to the product, but also to the people communicating on behalf of them. I think that's also a big improvement. So I'm hoping that things come back. I don't think the culture will ever be the same because I think it's very difficult to have that homegrown grassroots passion and culture like you have with founders, like we had with Dave. I always did this with Gage and Dan. But once I think things changed and ownership changed, it's difficult to have that passion and culture. Like Ecamm is still has the original founders and developers. So I just think that Ecamm fam, it's there and it's awesome and it's freaking great. I also think, if I'm not mistaken, Ecamm is still a fairly still at a smaller operation, because it is just isolated to Mac users, but freaking great. I love it. Um, yeah. Yeah, this is, Onlay browser that works. Only browser. Yeah. So that's the thing. They recommend Chrome. That's what's crazy is they recommend Chrome, and it is still the highest recommended browser for it. Something has happened in my personal Chrome settings. Something's happened, and I believe it could be because I did have major internet issues. And what I read is that it will, to keep the signal strong and stable, it will downgrade certain things. This is why it's important to have your hardware performance acceleration turned on, which means it's going to use your CPU to power certain things versus the browser, whatever. I think something's happened, and even though it says it's on, I think it's frozen at a particular setting. I think because even when I have really strong internet, it still does this. It doesn't, no matter what I do, no matter what camera I use, it doesn't matter. I can use the Logitech 920 and it still does it. And it's like, I mean, I'm talking like, it's not like 460p, it's like 100p. It is like trash. Um, so something's happened where it's forced this and it won't go back. It's like not auto adjusting again. So I don't know. I think at this point, I'm going to continue to tinker with it a little bit. I'm going to try a few other drastic measures, but whatever. I'm just going to use Firefox for now. So it is what it is. All right, my friends. Well, I feel like I'm going to lose my voice if I keep talking. And also, I'm starving and it's past dinner time. I am shocked that my daughter hasn't come in here to give me the look. Like, what are you doing? The fact that I'm upstairs, it would be easy for her to do that. But I think she's upstairs talking to her friends. I don't know. But I think we should probably wrap this one up. You guys are awesome. Again, as I said earlier, just thank you so much for being here and also staying here and still being here. And then again, like I said, thank you for letting me just be like this, like this where we are. Here we are, right? So it's because of you that I'm here and that is never going to stop. So keep encouraging me, stick with it, stick with me, and I hope you all just stick with it too. If you've been stuck and this helped you, let me know in the comments after you go do something amazing. Come back to this and comment on it and tell us the story. Tell us all about it because I want to hear that from you as well. So these live streams sometimes are long and lengthy and whatever, but this one was fun. I think we all had a good time with it. Might even find a few clips to repurpose out of this. Oh, that's the other thing. Before I go, Pat Flynn, I know some of you are big fans of Pat Flynn. He did that 30-day challenge. MC, I think you did it. The 30-day challenge where you started it or something, but no, I think you did it. He's doing a 14-day challenge. He's doing the same thing, but he's doing a 14-day version of it. It starts tomorrow. I think I'm going to do it. Again, I said earlier I don't make commitments, but I'm like, come on. Come on. I literally just rattled off enough crap that it could be 14 videos. Shorts. They're just shorts. So anyway, I think I'm going to do it. I subscribed to the thing. And so, yeah, might have to, you might see me in some shorts tomorrow, but we'll see. You will. I think you will. All right, my friends, that's what I'm going to do. So if you haven't checked that out, he just did a live stream today. Go to Pat Flynn's channel, check it out. I watched his content as he was doing the 30-day live stream. It kind of got me jazzed up again. Again, I've been consuming content that's been motivating me, and Pat Flynn has been somebody who I followed a long time ago, then I stopped following him, and I'm kind of back to following him again, and I really think he's on fire and he's found a groove again, and you can tell when a creator isn't passionate about what they're talking about, and then when they are, and I feel like we got Pat is back. So I've been following him, and so channel link. So it's Pat Flynn. It's PATFLYNN. Just Google it. You'll find it. I don't know. I don't think it's SPI. He has a podcast called Smart Passive Income. I don't think his channel's SPI, but Pat Flynn, just Google it. You'll find him. He's awesome. Absolutely incredible. Good dude too. Good dude too. All right, my friends. Well, I'm going to end this up and we'll see you guys next time. So I'll see you guys later.